Hi, thanks for joining us today. My name's James from Livestorm. In this video, we'll be exploring the Livestorm Salesforce integration. We'll walk you through how to connect Livestorm to Salesforce, some important settings and permissions that need to be enabled, how to map your field so your CRM gets the right data, and then we're going to discuss some powerful use cases for this integration. Before we get started, it's important to note that this is an enterprise paid add-on, so if it's not yet enabled on your account, please reach out to us and we can look at enabling this on your own account. I'm going to leave some links at the bottom of this article for further reading later on if you're interested, relating to setup and permissions, and also some Salesforce articles that might be handy as well if you're interested in some extra reading on this topic. We're going to look at some required permissions that you need to have active on the Salesforce side. There are a few very important settings and they need to be set in order for the integration to work properly. Okay, so let's jump into Salesforce. So I'm just going to log into my account. So here we are in Salesforce. So the first thing we want to do to check these settings is click on the settings cog at the top right and click on setup. Okay, on the left-hand side, locate the administration section, click on users, and then click on the user menu option. So you want to locate your accounts, click on your name. The first thing that we're looking for is the marketing user field. If this is not ticked, you'll need to click on edit and activate marketing user and click on save. That's now ticked on my account. This option is very important because it's required by Salesforce to read and update campaigns. The second option that we're looking for here is profile. Now we can see that my profile is set to system administrator. So there's two options here. You will either be system administrator or you'll have a different system administrator. If you don't, you will need to reach out to your system administrator so that they can create a permission set. I'm going to leave a link at the bottom of this community article that shows how your system administrator can set that up if needed. So the next thing we're going to check here is if you click on view summary, and if we scroll down to user permissions, we want to double check that API is enabled on your user account. It's good to double check that that's there. The next thing we want to check is object permissions. So the first one we want to check for is account. Okay, there's account. I have read, create, edit, and delete. The next one we want to check for is campaign. I've got permission for that, so that's good. The next one is contact. Okay, we can see contact there, so I've got permission for that. The last one we want to check is lead. Again, I've got permission for that. So I've checked all 4 items in the object permission. Please make sure that you have read, create, edit, and view all as a minimum for all 4 items in the object permission. The last thing to check here is field permissions. You can check here to make sure that you have the appropriate settings in your field permissions, as well as the object permissions, to ensure that you have the right access in Salesforce. Let's say, for example, the object name is campaign. As we can see here, for example, campaign. I have read access for all items and I have edit access for all items. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at is setting up a custom field to allow you to capture the information relating to Livestorm Replay. You'll need to set up a custom field named Livestorm Replay Status on the campaign member object. So click on Object Manager, click on Campaign Member, and then click on Fields and Relationships. And then on the right, click New. The data type that we want to select here is Pick List, and then click Next down the bottom right. It's very important that the field name is 100% correct. The field name has to be Livestorm_replay_status. This is the field that needs to be 100% correct. So Livestorm_replay_status. The next thing we're going to do here is set up the values for the pick list. So if you click on enter value and then 3 settings there for the pick list, we have the field label, the values, and the field name. And we're going to click on next and we'll click on next again. On step 4 of 4, we can click Save. Okay, and we can scroll down and find our new custom field, Livestorm Replay Status. Scroll down, we can see the values there. You might like to double check that this is set to default, hasn't watched replay, and you can set that to default. Okay, so in our Livestorm dashboard, if we click on Apps on the left, and then scroll down until you find Salesforce V2, and then we will click on Enable for all team members. Now there's 2 options here, Connect to Production or Test on a Sandbox. In this case, Connect to Production. So I want to log into my Salesforce account. I have my credentials there, click Login. Allow access on Salesforce, click Allow, and we get a little confirmation down the bottom here. Integration turned on, connected. So on the settings tab, we can confirm that the integration is confirmed here. It's turned on. If we keep scrolling down, there's some general settings here. So automatically enable this integration for new event. If you create a new event, this integration will automatically be enabled on that event already. The next setting here is create contacts instead of leads. So by default, leads are created, but you do have the option to create contacts if you wish. I'm going to leave some more information in a link at the bottom of this community article if you're interested in that option. The third option here is register people from Salesforce. If you're interested in a 2-way mode, you can enable this option and you can create registrants from Salesforce. The configuration of this integration is now complete. It's turned on, it's connected. We've reviewed some of the permissions and the settings that you need in Salesforce. Now it's time to take a look at the integration. Okay, so let's look at some use cases for this integration. Let's start with the most common workflow, capturing brand new leads from Livestorm into Salesforce. We're going to go ahead and create a new event. I have a new event called Demo 1 with our event created. Remember, in the Salesforce integration settings, we did set it so that it'll be enabled by default on any new event. So I'm going to double check that in apps, and we can see Salesforce V2 is enabled. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to register someone manually for this event, and I'll put in one of my test emails here. Registration successful. I'll go ahead and I'll register a second registrant, confirming the second registrant, and now we have 2 registrants for the event. Here's my registration page. I'm going to create a test registration. Register now. I'm going to say James Test 1, and there I'm registered. I'm going to go back into Salesforce. I can confirm here by clicking on Leads, then click on James Test 1. That's my lead, my registrant in Livestorm. You can see that the event session as a campaign and the registrant in Livestorm as a lead are now showing in Salesforce. Anyone that registers for a session from now on will appear via the integration in the lead section of Salesforce. If I click on campaigns, I can see here the event, Demo 1. So if I go ahead and create a new event and people register to that event, then that new campaign will also appear in Salesforce because I've created an event in Livestorm. The next use case we want to look at is attendance and who's viewed the replay or who hasn't viewed the replay. Earlier I hosted an event, a test event, web event-test. As we can see, I have 8 people for this event. I tested with half of those people attending the event and the other half not attending the event. What I want to do is have that information in Salesforce so that I can drive a campaign based on who attended the event, and I can also see the information about who viewed the replay and who didn't. Back in Salesforce, I'm going to click on campaigns. Now I'm going to locate my event, web event test. So if I click on web event and scroll down to campaign members, and if you click on view all, now you see all of my registrants here. The important thing to look at here is the status column. I can see that 1, 2, 3 have attended and 4 did not attend. And that is correct. I did go in and attend those events with those accounts myself. Another important field here is Livestorm replay status. So if you remember, we did configure that custom field. I have watched one replay, has watched replay, and I know that that was James133. So that is working as expected. So if you don't see the Livestorm replay status in this view, you will need to configure it. Click on the cogwheel again, and then click on Setup. And then we want to click on the Object Manager. Scroll down and look for Campaign. Click on Page Layouts. Open the campaign layout, and then scroll down to Campaign Members. And there's a wrench icon there. So if you click on that, this will give you the chance to choose the column and which order they're displayed in that campaign members view. So you can find the Livestorm replay status, click Add, click on OK. So that's how you display the Livestorm replay status. So this is how you check the statuses in Salesforce. Statuses update automatically. There's no manual work. Marketing can trigger flows directly from their statuses, and that information is now in Salesforce. So the last thing we're going to do is we're going to create a list of people who skipped the live session, but later engaged by watching the replay video. So we're going to use the information of the first 2 examples, and we're going to create a report based on that. From our sales dashboard, we're going to click on Reports, and now we're going to click on New Report. In the report type, we're going to select Campaigns with Campaign Members and Start Report. First of all, I'll click All Campaigns. Okay, so here I have all of my events in this report. The purpose of this report is to find people who did not attend the event, but did watch the replay. And I can add a column, Livestorm replay status. So I've got the member status, first name, last name, and Livestorm replay. And I'll refresh. So I've got the member status, I've got the Livestorm replay status. Okay, so I'm going to click on filters. I'm going to create a new filter. I want to select member status. Now I want to say people who did not attend the event and apply. Now refresh my screen. I can see there's 5 people who registered for one of my events and didn't attend. Next filter I want to add is Livestorm replay status, has watched replay, and apply. Okay, so that's filtered it down to 1 person. I know in my test events there's only 1 person who did not attend the event but has watched the replay, and that has pulled it up in this report. Now, as you get more data, there might be more people in that list, and you can use that information in Salesforce to identify people who have engaged with your event but did not attend live, and maybe you want to follow up with them or create campaigns and do these sorts of things. So from there, we can save the report, did not attend, / watched replay, and I'll save. But that's the last use case that we'll be looking at today. I hope this video helps you to set up your own Salesforce integration. And if you have any questions about any of the settings or use cases that we've covered here today, please feel free to reach out to us here on the community or reach out to us at support. Thanks again. See you next time.